Hi everybody, it's Mr. Shikowski. This is a short instructions explanations video that I'm putting together here as we get down towards the end of Wednesday afternoon. I'm going to actually shorten these instructions more than I originally thought, and break up some of the different activities that I had in mind for our next few days. I'm going to just give you a little bit of something to work on for tomorrow, basically. And I will be sending out another Geo Bulletin tomorrow once I've had a bit more time to do some video editing and polish up a couple of PowerPoints that I now see I would like to spend some more time on. So for now, this is going to be just a sort of a touch base. I'm going to do a quick review here of what we should have completed by now, and then ask you to continue to work on your textbook study notes mainly for the rest of today and tomorrow. And when I come back to you tomorrow, it'll be with a more substantial number of items that we can then close out the rest of the week with and move into next week with. So this is I'm realizing now in real time that I'm going to just give you a little bit of something to do for one day here, and then come back to you with several more days of things organized a little bit better. So we're starting with, again, our website, and I want to just remind you. Actually, I'm going to go back to the main website. We'll start from that. Well, let's see if we can do it this way. Okay, so the main website, we're working in Unit 2, and we're working mostly in the ecological footprint folder, okay, which you have to click into after getting to Unit 2 stuff. Now, the one thing that I will mention is that we have asked you to do Unit 2 textbook study notes. This is the file right here. This is what it looks like when you open it up. And up until now, I've asked you simply to do questions 1 and 2. These two numbers are bolded, and those are two questions that I'm asking you have asked you to start with this past week. And I'm hoping that those are done. What we're going to be doing in the next day is learning a little bit more about some terminology around this concept of ecological footprint and sustainability. And that terminology comes through in this term, starts with this term called carrying capacity, and it moves into the next several questions here. And there's a graph that the textbook starts with that asks you some questions around that graph. So I am basically asking you to work on questions 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8. So these few questions today and rest of the day tomorrow, by the end of the day tomorrow, I will have a more substantial explanations video, and I'll probably have also redone a certain PowerPoint that is also used to talk about carrying capacity. So I'm going to show you where that PowerPoint is, and I'm going to show you the notes page that goes with it right now. Because that's the other thing that it would make sense for you to at least start to work on or look at. Okay, so this is the textbook study notes. A reminder, please, that if you don't have your textbook at home with you, then the chapter that you should be using to answer these questions is posted right here, right below that folder. Okay, everything else we've been working on in the last couple of weeks is inside this Eco Footprints folder. And at this point, I'm just going to do a quick roll through of what you should have completed by now if you did everything on the Geo Bulletin number 6, I guess, was last week. And so what that would include is, for example, this ecological footprint project booklet. And by the way, if these things are not showing you enough space, you can find where that little edge is and drag it over a little bit, and then the names get a little bit more full and you can see a bit more if it turns out that this is too squished up on your computer. So we've been working our way down this list. We started last week looking at this Ecological Footprints project booklet. I'm going to open a version up here. What you should have done by now is read this first page and highlighted any important statements or sentences from it about what an eco footprint is, okay? You should also at this point have completed the notes that go on page 2 of this booklet. And those notes come from this file here, Sustainable Development Notes, page 2 of your booklet. It looks like this, and there is some notes here for you to record into onto a paper copy of that booklet. And there's also tons of links about what sustainable development is and means. And there's some questions here that you were asked to answer and make that your second entry in your Eco Footprint Reflections log. A couple of people have asked me, well, where do you find that log, Mr. S? And I'm going to remind everybody here that this Eco Footprint Reflections log is a document that you were supposed to open in Word and start from scratch. Or you could have used the back of your waste questionnaire. If you picked up a paper copy at school before school shut down, then that became another place that you could record your thoughts and ideas. So this Eco Footprint Reflections log is something you should now have 2 different entries in. And entry number 2 involves answering these 3 questions with a sentence or 2 at least. Okay? And the more thoughtful you can be, the more you're showing me that you're engaging with these kinds of questions and thoughts that we're asking you to consider as we learn a little bit more about eco footprint and sustainability. Okay? So this was the PowerPoint that was used both to, whoops, wrong slide. It was used both to fill in these notes on this page as well as to make some further, a diary of your learning, entry number 2 in your Eco Footprint Reflections log, which should be its own file saved in your computer that I'll eventually be asking you to email me as proof that you've been doing some thinking along the way here. Okay. Now, what else is it? So once that happened, then I asked you to go and take this quiz on paper in this booklet. Okay, most of you had this booklet. If you were at school in the last week before we shut down, then you would have taken this booklet home. It was a green paper booklet. Some of you might have had only only the electronic version of this because you weren't at school that week, and so there you would have to save this to your computer and answer the questions and save it that way. Okay. Now some of the answers were pre-done for you, but most of them required you to think about and then answer it to the best of your knowledge, these answers. And this was a way of practicing learning about what sorts of lifestyles, habits, the way that people live, and how that can contribute to an ecological footprint. And so after completing these 27 questions, that was sort of a practice run, okay? And at that point, you were then asked to go through this PowerPoint, the ecological footprint PowerPoint right here, intro. And this was a big, massive PowerPoint, and one that I ended up making a big video for, which you can hear and watch by clicking the link on the very first slide there. Okay, and so this PowerPoint not only is meant to introduce you to the concept of an eco footprint, and some of the pieces and visual parts of it were explained in that video, but towards the end of it, it was a set of instructions to further get you going into that green booklet, right? So take your 27 question quiz for practice, answer as many as you could, consider them as best you could. And I got a few questions from people, not too many, and so I'm hoping that meant that you've done it and you were reasonably happy with the answers that you were able to come up with, maybe with the help of a family member. Now, the actual online quiz that you should now have taken as well is linked here on this slide. And when you go into this website, you're going to get asked a series of questions as well. They're not the same as the 27. They're different. And when you're finished taking that quiz, then we'd asked you to record some results on this page. And again, this page in your green booklet has some space for you to record a couple of other things, and we've given you those answers there to help you. Excuse me. So at this point, we are just on the cusp of being able to talk more formally about what your ecological footprint report is going to look like and how it's going to work. And I'm anticipating making a proper video about that either tomorrow or early next week. And that the bulk of next week is going to be taken up by you beginning to actually write this report. So these instructions are a little bit ahead of us here, but if you've taken the quiz online and you've recorded your results, then really the next step for you in the coming days is going to be to move now to the reflections on your results and start to answer the questions in the planner document, part of this document. And many of these questions that you're being asked to answer are actually directly related to the bulleted questions that you will be asked to do on your final report, your formal report. Okay, these 9 bullets are where we are headed. Okay, that is what you'll be asked to write 9 mini paragraphs, some of them bigger, some of them smaller, about in the next week or two. So this booklet, we're sort of in the middle of it, right? And what I'm asking you to do today/tomorrow is simply to continue working on what's left of the ecological footprint textbook study notes. Okay, so those textbook study notes are here, questions 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You can do 9 if you want. It doesn't relate specifically to the concept of carrying capacity, but it was something that you will be asked to do in the next couple days anyways. So whatever is left on this second page, only the bold numbered ones, so up to 9, that'll be it. Okay, and there is a PowerPoint that has been made all about carrying capacity. So here you can see it. Again, it is reached by going down a little bit here to this PowerPoint in our documents library, carrying capacity, graph and terms. Okay, and there's a notes page that goes with it here. And again, this is something that many of you would have picked up a paper copy of back when school was still open. But if you didn't, then you are welcome to simply download this copy into your computer, save it, and then make your notes on it, either electronically or you can print a copy if you have that capacity and write your notes on paper, up to you. But this PowerPoint here, I think I'm going to be making a video for it tonight or tomorrow morning and then posting a link here that will help explain this PowerPoint a little bit more. There are some links on here, some of which work and some don't right now. So I want to finish the process of linking these links as best I can and explaining a little bit more what you're supposed to do with this PowerPoint. And you can see there's a slide here called The Story of Stuff. This is a video that we'll be watching next week. So this is sort of it's a multi-purpose PowerPoint. It mostly talks about carrying capacity, and that's the part that you're welcome to look at. So what is a carrying capacity? What is load? What does sustainability mean? And then this graph is a simplified version of the graph that's in your textbook. Okay, and the graph that's in your textbook looks like this. It's got many other pieces to it. We've really tried to simplify it, right? But the gist of it, the two axes are the same, time and carrying capacity and load. And depending on what line, whether it's the straight line or the dotted line, or the full line or the dotted line, those two lines interact on this graph in a way that I would like to explain a bit more on a forthcoming video. Okay, so what are the definitions of these terms? Carrying capacity, load, sustainability, and how does our relationship with resources, how has it changed over time? So this particular page, okay, is accessible right here, carrying capacity notes page, and it's meant to be filled in by following the slides in this PowerPoint. Okay, so this is the other thing that I would like you to at least get started on. And this topic is very much, intertwined with these textbook study notes. So you're going to find out about carrying capacity in our textbook by reading a few paragraphs and answering these questions, but you can also use this PowerPoint to help you. Okay, and this PowerPoint does have some links right here about that you can look at. One of them is a video link which will help you understand what ecological overshoot means. Okay, and there's a couple of other links that you may find interesting or useful. The ones here about Uncle Ray, clip 1, clip 2, clip 3, you can ignore for now. That's a separate activity that we may or may not do depending on time. Okay, so but these slides literally have the notes on them that were intended to be placed on this particular sheet. Okay, and many of these terms are the same terms that you're being asked to talk about and answer and define in your textbook notes. So your textbook study notes and that PowerPoint called carrying capacity really kind of go together. And that's what I'm asking you to work on for the rest of today and for Thursday, for tomorrow, while I put together a bit more instructions and a bit more detail on our next steps. And what you may find by tomorrow is that this PowerPoint has a new link on it with a video attached, which will help explain this PowerPoint just a little bit more for now. But for now, you can still use it and use what's posted on it in terms of text and record those notes or learn from it as best you can. My video will do a better job of that by tomorrow, I promise. So that's it for now. I'm going to post this with a very brief set of instructions and hope that this video does the trick in terms of catching people up on what they should have done by now and also letting you see what's next in terms of our very next step. And I'm going to add a few more steps to that tomorrow in an upcoming video in our next Geo Bulletin. Okay. Take care, everybody. We'll be in touch soon.